TGR News, broadcasting from the State of Israel.
Welcome back to TGR News.
Hello, hello.
This week, the terrorist attacks continued while the left-wing protesters have begun to lose it and attack the democracy that they claim to love, endangering the state of Israel itself. We will talk about all of this and much more, but first, let's say thank you. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. Last week, as we talked about, we were able to add a new family and grow yet again with this wonderful thing that we do here with your support. And it is we are so grateful. The people that you are helping are so grateful. It's if we always say, if you haven't been a part of this ministry and you feel like you want to, there are links below every video to the Patreon page and to the Support Us page. And all you gotta do is hit those links, and it'll take you to those ways to support. Or you can go to thegoldenreport.com. And you can click on the Support Us page there and find whichever way is best for you to send your support. These people here need it so much and are so grateful for everything you guys do. It is a wonderful witness and a great blessing to the state of Israel, to the nation of Israel, to the children here in Israel. So thank you so much. And you can always like and subscribe and also share these videos. Is also a good way to help us out with these videos that we're doing here on YouTube. So I guess we just get started.
Yeah, let's do it. During this past weekend on the Lebanon border, Lebanese reporters crossed over the Israeli border and began to broadcast. This was another attempt by Nasrallah to escalate the tension between Israel and Lebanon. These reporters are just the beginning, in my opinion, and we will see Nasrallah getting bolder and bolder until Israel will get fed up, enough is enough, with it, and the third Lebanese war will kick off.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, we'll definitely see a third Lebanese war, war between Israel and Lebanon. We call them by numbers now. The second one was the last one. This will be the third one.
The third one.
Yeah, so
in my opinion, if it will happen, the third Lebanese war, it will be the end of Lebanon. The money-wise situation, economic situation is really bad in Lebanon right now.
Yes.
And they're really hurting from, even many people there, if you ask just plain people, simple people, they want Israel to take over.
Yes, that's very true.
They don't want Hezbollah. They don't want war. They just tired. They want regular life, prosperity, just to live their life with peace and have enough money to feed their families. That's all they want.
Yeah, that's true. That's what most of the Lebanese people want. And I think you're right. It'll be the end of what Lebanon is today, and it might be a good thing because what might come out of it afterwards will be better. The people will put in the government, people who are looking out for their best interests instead of just attack the state of Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I for sure it'll be bad news for Lebanon, but we'll see what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
But Nasrallah is definitely poking at us to try to get us to go on it.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have to at some point, On Sunday morning, near Tekoa in Gush Etzion, a terrorist opened fire at an intersection and was able to injure a young father, the age of 37, with his two daughters driving by. The terrorist drove through the intersection and fired at close distance into the victim's car and then drove away, but was caught a few hours later.
Yeah, every time we do something to protect our citizens, they change their tactics and do something new.
Yes.
So we had suicidal bombers in the beginning. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It was so many people being killed. So we built a wall and we started doing more checkpoints and stuff, which some left wing tell it's like apartheid, right?
Yeah.
But it's just to protect our citizens. So that now they have this new thing that I think been last year.
Last year.
They just stop the car close to cars standing in the intersection, drive by. Sometimes they go out and start just spraying with the gun everybody who is inside, a family in the car.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah,
new
it's like
thing.
this. It's like the old drive-bys we used to see in the United States all the time. It's when I was a child, I think is when it started beginning drive-bys in America. The gangs in the cities in America would drive. They call it drive-by because it's exactly that. They wouldn't even get out of the car. They drive by, open fire,
Right.
and drive off.
Yeah.
And that's what the Arabs are doing now. They've learned from the American gangs, how to do that, and it's made it where it's more difficult to catch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we always do. We always did. And this is a very important thing. So we will catch them right away.
Yes.
So they know nobody can escape.
Yes.
It's very important.
And it's like the Arabs, the owners of the stores in Chihuahua, that shows also how great in percentage in the Arab community the support is to terrorists against the state of Israel. All of the owners of on the main street where the Arabs seem to be doing a lot of terrorist attacks now, they took down their street front cameras and were open about why they did it. They said they did it so that it would make it more difficult or near impossible for the IDF and for Israel to catch the terrorists that were responsible for the terrorist attacks, because they couldn't, if you couldn't get a video and see who it was before they drove off, it would make it harder to catch them.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you how far spread the support in the Arab community to terrorists it really is. It's not the few, it's the majority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. On Wednesday, terrorists attacked IDF soldiers who convoyed Jewish worshippers that went to pray in Joseph's tomb in Nablus. Terrorists were throwing Molotov cocktails, rocks, and shooting on the convoy. IDF returned fire. One terrorist been neutralized. So this is not the first time that we have agreement with the Fatah, which is PLO, former PLO. I don't know how you can call them, but right now it's kind of government.
Yeah.
But it's actually terrorist organizations. Now they are the government of Palestinians officially, right? Arabs. So we have agreement that Jews can go to Joseph's tomb, pray. That's why we pull out back in the time when we say we're going to pull out, we'll leave the Joseph tomb, we don't go into Nablus, but you have to make sure that we can go and pray in Joseph's tomb.
Yeah.
And now they just ruin. They don't even. Not only they're not helping us to do that, actually they're going out with their guns and start just shooting and worshippers and an IDF soldiers who try to protect them.
Yeah, who are going, with the worshippers that they're on the trips every time they're coming in and out. Like I said, it's not new, but it's just yet another place where Arabs are attacking Jews, trying to kill Jews. Yeah, After the Israeli president visited the White House, Biden finally invited Netanyahu for a visit. Because of Biden's concerns about the judicial reform here in Israel, Netanyahu assured Biden that this reform will not only strengthen the democracy in Israel, and that he is not planning on pushing it through the Knesset without working out with the opposition, meaning a broad basis consensus, right?
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. This week was a big week for the protesters in the judicial reform. And the president of the United States, it's been 4 months now since Prime Minister Netanyahu has been Prime Minister, right? About 4 months.
Yeah.
And the judicial isn't, or more than 4 months.
No, I think it's 7 months, right?
Yeah, 7 months.
Because from the beginning they started protests.
About 7-8 months,
Yeah.
and time flies when you're having fun. And the president, as we know, has never invited the official invitation of the prime minister to come and have their talk in White House. So instead, he invited the president of Israel, Herzog. And so this has been a back and forth thing for Israel and the Israelis for a while, and they've been using the fact that the president did not invite Netanyahu. When I say they, the left wing protesters in Israel, been using it as a way to show, see how bad this reform is. Even America doesn't invite us anymore, and we're losing our relationship with America.
Exactly.
Right.
They use in Biden's statements lately that he said this is the most radical right-wing coalition, and this is and judicial reform. He talked about judicial reform, Biden.
Yes.
And that's why they have like a backup, right? That's what they think.
Yeah, and if you look at the laws that the judicial reform here in Israel are the change that it would bring, it just makes it more similar to basically like the laws that you already have in existence in the United States how the Supreme Court has to work in the judicial system there. And so it's so hypocritical that Biden would even try to act like this is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, we love America. America is the biggest ally for Israel that
Israel
can
afford
ever.
to lose it.
It's so important. But Biden I don't know how this man thinks.
Well, like I said, it's no surprise that Israel and America right now don't get along, because you have Israel's right to extreme right wing in the coalition running the government, and in America you have extreme left wing right now in control. So when you have extreme left in control with right to extreme right, they're not going to get along.
Yeah, but it's getting worse. In the Democratic Party in the United States, you have representatives who talk anti-Israel openly.
Yes.
Like last week, we had something that who it was that said that Israel is a racist state. Then she apologized, of course, but she's not the only one. You have Rashida Tlaib, very, very anti-Israel people who in Democratic left-wing party in. So, and that's why I think here in Israel we feel this more backup on the left, and that's why they feel like they have more support and go even bolder.
But just like we always say here, it's not America's position to talk about what's happening internally, right?
Yeah.
This is our deal, not anyone else's.
With all due respect,
Absolutely.
let us. The left-wing protesters over this judicial reform inside the IDF are threatening to stop coming to the army for service again. Netanyahu is doing his best to be as tough as he can on these military protesters. It seems like the commanding chief of the IDF is not being strong enough on this situation.
Absolutely.
At one time he was talking, and I was like, I have crossed fingers and say, let's hope he'll say something against those. If you ask me, it's like deserter.
Like
right?
people going AWOL. Yeah. People are not showing up for duty, and mainly it started with the IDF Airforce Pilots, which is insane. Well, to be specific, it's not the what would you call it? The regular service pilots. It's most of them are not even the reserve pilots. It's most of them that are not showing up are the ones that Israel's gotten used to using, who are the volunteer after reserve pilots.
Yeah, like some of them didn't fly a plane for 10 years. They just in the reservist.
Yeah, but they're causing a ripple effect.
Yes.
And other left, because you got left and right, because, in the IDF in Israel, you have everyone. It's mandatory. So everyone's in the army in the IDF. So you're going to have left and right wing people. So the people who are left, and especially the people that find themselves in the IDF who are extreme left, who see this happening, of course they're going to jump on board and think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you just can't have the army doing that. People can't use the army as a bargaining chip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Leave the army, leave the politics out of the army. It's so
and so Netanyahu is trying to be very tough on it, but he needs people with him, like the Minister of Security and the commanding chief of the military, because Prime Minister can only say what he wants those guys to do. Then they have to actually do it.
Yeah.
Well, this past week has been probably the worst yet in the past 7 months over the reform. Large businesses, as well as military medical personnel and even civilian doctors at the hospital, have joined the protest against the coalition in an attempt to stop the judicial reform. Netanyahu is under great pressure, and I could not imagine what it is like to be in his shoes right now during this time in the state of Israel.
Yeah.
Talking about the pressure he's on, just recently he had a little medical issue. And everyone was worried, but I could understand why he would have this medical issue, and maybe he went to the Sea of Galilee, and then the next day he was taken to the hospital. They said he had a heat stroke, and they checked his heart, and they weren't very forthcoming with the information, so we don't know exactly what it was. But like I said, with all this going on, I can understand why he would have a little bit of anxiety and have some overstress right now. Right?
Yeah.
And this is crazy what's going on.
Yeah, if you check the leaders of this protest one by one, you check their past, they're all corrupted.
Yes.
They're all against Bibi Netanyahu.
And they've all...
Specifically against Bibi Netanyahu. The judicial reform...
And they've all wanted the judicial reform before Bibi said it.
Yes. 2020, you can see them recorded already gathering together and try to protest Netanyahu. It was before the judicial reform. It was all about Corona, which I think he did he was great in Corona, in COVID, how he treated it. But it doesn't matter. They're just looking for excuse to uprise, to make people be angry about something, to have many followers after them. And people just play in their little game. We have so much corruption in those leaders, one by one. Just check them. Some of them pretending to be pilots, reservists. If you look at who support them, is the pro-Palestinian organizations.
Yes,
exactly. You just have to go and look each one of them. Like, they're not many; they're just 5 or 6, right?
Well, when you talk about pro-Palestinian, when you look at the flags with these Israeli left-wing protesters, you'll see that they use mainly the Israeli flag, but you'll see the gay pride parade flag, and you'll see the Palestinian. What's known as the Palestinian flag, because there's no state of Palestine.
The Jordanian without the star. That's all they use.
Well, on Thursday, Netanyahu addressed the nation. In his speech, he talked about how together we have built an amazing nation with a strong army, and together we are a strong democracy in the Middle East. Then he went on to show how the heads of the opposition in the past wanted the judicial reform themselves, and how they are just using the protests to achieve their own agendas. He went on to talk about the dangers of the protests spreading in the IDF, including pilots and medical personnel. And this has to stop, and it is the exact opposite of democracy when the military tells the government what to do. So true. It's...
And also, a little bit off the subject, but it's also important. In Israel, we have our medical, how medical thing work in Israel. It's we pay like a little payment every month, and then if something happens, we have free
socialized medicine.
It's a socialized, yes. So why should I don't have a doctor if I needed it? Just because the doctor's opinion, political, is different than mine. Can you think about how non-democratic this is? How dictatorship is it? You, the doctor, different opinion than mine, don't want to treat me because I'm different. Because it's like it's amazing. People don't think about how crazy is that.
It is crazy. They even showed how the doctors didn't, on the video, on the TV, that when they decided to strike, you see sick people and they just standing in front of the sick people talking about the reform. But that's bad. But as bad as that is, it's still a lot worse that the military is trying to tell the government what to do. That's anti-democracy in itself. It's insane. It's insane how the devil's been able to take over the left-wing parties all over the world. And just, most of these people, I don't think they don't really know what they're doing. They don't even realize what they're a part of. They don't even realize how right now, if you ask all these protesters, and there's a lot of them, hundreds of thousands of them in the streets in Israel, and that's a big number for Israel because we don't have a population of over 330 million like the United States. We have 9 million. So 500,000 in the street is a big number when you're talking about percentage-wise in voters, because once you take away the very old and too young, and by the time you weed all them numbers out, the actual voters, it's a huge number, 500,000 percentage-wise here in Israel. But if you take most of those people that are out in the streets, I don't think they really understand what they're doing. Right now, maybe they like the idea of the IDF protesting with them. But if you take a moment and try to explain to them, listen, the people in the IDF are agreeing with you right now, so maybe it's hard to see it. But think of the next time that now that we've opened Pandora's box, right? Think of next time when the people in the army just don't like what the government has to do, so they decide, Israel don't have an army no more.
Yeah.
Whatever, what?
Yeah.
It's just...
It's supposed to be neutral. Army is supposed to be neutral, not touch the politics at all.
Absolutely.
And not more than that, you just ask them. Take one of those people and just ask them, what are you protesting about?
What's wrong with the judicial reform?
Wrong? Yeah.
And they can't tell you.
They can't. They just
They
no.
can't
This is the start of, and after that they can do it. They call it salami. They call it the salami theory, or how it's called.
They'll just
Method.
repeat what Ehud Barak said, and then they'll repeat what Lapid said, and then they'll repeat what all the other left-wing Benny Gantz said, and all the other left-wingers, right?
Yeah.
That's all they do. They just repeat what their left-wing leaders say. And they haven't. If you ask them what's wrong with the judicial reform, show me in the 5 steps, which is very short and simple. It's not one of those laws where it's a book thick and you can't really understand. It's very short, very simple, and to the point. Anyone can read it and understand it. If you're 5th grade and higher, you can understand it, right? So I mean, but you ask them, so what's the problem? And they can't even tell you. And you ask them, what are the 5 changes in the judicial reform? They can't tell you.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm saying is they don't even realize what's actually going on and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And how the devil's taking over these left-wing parties all over the world, including what we're talking about here in Israel right now.
Yeah.
And just using them to attack democracy, to attack morals, to attack everything, right?
Yeah.
To attack God.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah. We very close now to Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is the day that we're mourning the ruin of our temple.
Yeah. Second temple.
It happened because we have it's Hebrew. You call it brother war. It's civil war. It's brother war. It's called, and it's brother against brother, which is civil war. And if you look around, it looks like we're closer to that than ever, right? Mm-hmm. We have a big gap in our people's minds, how they think, how they hate each other. They hate each other. They just, the gap is so big. I hope we can close it one day because it looks like it's really bad.
Yeah.
And it all looks like because of this judicial reform, which is just an excuse, but the right wing feel like they second-class citizens because they voted democratically for this government who can't be free to pass laws, just to do what they voted for. Yeah. And the left wing also sure that they're going to lose the country, the democracy is over, they're going to be dictatorship. So, and when people in the same family sometimes sit in Shabbat meal, they fight each other too, and it's so sad.
Yeah.
So let's pray for this time to be over, and we go through it, we get stronger. I hope the people of Israel. And that's all I wanted
but
to
I have a bad feeling that the only thing that's going to bring the left and right wing people, the nation of Israel, back together is some rough times, like war or something like that. That's what's going to bring them back together. But in the meantime, we can help them. and we can witness to them, and
Yeah.
we can show them the true light and the true love of this world. And we can do that through your help, by your support, and helping us reach as many people here in the state of Israel. Also, Ola just reorganized some of the things on the website, and on the bottom you can see free downloads of Jerry Golden, my father's two of his books, not all of them, but two of them, and his testimony, the founder of this wonderful ministry. And so we just put those up in a way it's easier to see, because I'm sure they'd bless you if you took the time to read them and check it out.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget to join us on thegoldenreport.com. And until next week,
Shabbat Shalom.
God bless.